Once again, it's on, people. This is your boy Brian Redmond, and this is another episode of the Relationship Rehab. What I wanted to talk about today was a little thing I call self-assessment. What I mean by that is just basically people taking your own self-inventory, if you will. So I guess I want to title this "Looking in the Mirror." How about that? That's better. So looking in the mirror, when you're talking about, I guess, people being able to look in the mirror, that's you basically looking at yourself, seeing where you're at, seeing the things that you've done, and just being able to use that mirror to see yourself and see what it is that you want to improve on. The problem with the mirror is that for a lot of us, including myself, the mirror is very hard to look into because it's a direct reflection of what you are right now today. And it's hard to look into that mirror and to see where you're at, and a lot of times you may not be happy with where you're at. You may be like, man, this is not what I really wanted to be, or this is not what I really wanted to do, but nevertheless, this is where you at. So when you're thinking about the mirror, why is it so hard to look in the mirror? I guess one of the main points I'm going to say is realizing the truth about yourself and the choices that you've made and decisions that you've made over your life has pretty much brought you to where you are right now. We can all talk about circumstances, well, this happened, that happened, but for the most part, the greater majority of the time, most of the reason or the main reason why we are where we are today is because of the choices and decisions that we've made. Whether we've made them with having all of the correct information, or we've just made them on a whim, or just trying to satisfy our own desires and making those decisions, whether they're good or bad for us, nevertheless, they lead us to right where we're at. And it's hard to look at that and to accept the fact that, man, a lot of the reasons why we may not be where we want to be in life is because of ourselves. So that's one of the main reasons why it's so hard to look in the mirror. Another one I would say is that once you make that look and you take that hard look in the mirror at yourself, it kind of makes you responsible. It makes you have to become responsible, I should say, for your actions. So the things that you've done, the choices that you've made, when you have actually looked at that and you've assessed it and you realize, wow, I did this, now you have to be the responsible one and you have to take ownership of that. And now it's up to you to turn that thing around, or to right that ship, or to find a better way to improve or to keep pressing forward to where your goal is. So it's like that part of knowing that you should be responsible is one thing, but when you actually have to accept it and embrace it and say, this is me and I gotta take ownership of it, I gotta change it, that's hard to do. Another thing too is that we're not always happy with where we're at and what we're doing and what we've done, and that can be discouraging, it can be hurtful, it can even be depressing in a lot of cases, because you looked at what you intended to do and what you started out to do, and now you're at this point to where you may not even be close to the mark that you wanted to be at, whether it's for a particular goal or project or even in life. And it's like it's hard to do that and to say, well, man, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And we tend to get down on ourselves and we tend to beat ourselves up about that kind of stuff. So it can put you in a state of depression. It can make you feel like, what's the point, or what's the use, or why am I even, trying to do this and I failed, or I didn't do what I said I was gonna do, even though I knew what I should have done, I didn't do it. And it's like that is quite discouraging, which is why a lot of us don't even want to look in the mirror. We'll just rather keep going down the path that we're going. We'll rather just say, hey, it's this person's fault, that person's fault, they're the reason why I'm here, and we can blame we can blame our position on our circumstances. And that in itself is one of the biggest reasons why it's so hard for us to do that self-assessment and to look in that mirror. The thing about it though, which is kind of odd, is that when you look at yourself in the mirror, it also gives you something else. It gives you the greatest opportunity to improve and become a better version of yourself. Because once you see where you're at, you can now assess and say, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm trying to go. Now you're able to put things in place to come up with a different type of blueprint to say, hey, this is what I'm gonna do to improve my life to the point to where I can get here. And that is something that we fail to get to because of those other three things that I mentioned, they are hard to get through and to get past. So when you're thinking about looking in that mirror, taking that self-assessment, and just realizing like, man, this is where I'm at, this is what it is. When you can get to that point, now you have the opportunity to say, now I know where I'm at, and even though I may not like it, I'm not a quitter, I'm not gonna die, and I'm gonna now lift myself up, and I'm gonna make those changes to go where I wanna go. Because you can never try to get somewhere until you know where you're at first. If I tell you, hey, if I blindfolded you and put you in a particular part of the city and said, okay, now find this spot. If you don't know where you're at in the first place, it's gonna be hard and extremely hard for you to try to get to where you wanna go or get to where I'm trying to tell you to go. So keep in mind that that mirror, even though it's hard to look into, it makes you responsible, and it can be depressing and discouraging because you're not where you wanna be. It also gives you the opportunity to say, hey, this is where I'm at, and now I'm gonna become a better version of myself because I know where I'm at, and I know exactly what I can do now to get to a better place. And you may not always be able to see the end of the road, but once you see that you're headed in the wrong direction, sometimes in life, just the simple fact of just changing direction can put you on a different trajectory to where you can do something about your current situation and wind up going and getting to your goal. So don't always be the person to say, well, I got to make sure I don't know what to do here and I don't know what to do there. A lot of times in a lot of situations, you don't know what it is you need to do to change, but sometimes you just have to take it upon yourself to say, I know I can't keep going this way because this way is definitely not working for me. This way is definitely not getting me where I want to go. So sometimes you just have to go left because you've been going right for so long and it's not getting you where you want to be. So sometimes you change direction, and once you change direction, things will change in your life. You can change your environment, your surroundings, and most importantly, you can change the people that you're connected to just by sometimes disconnecting and re-engaging into something else or reconnecting with someone else. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to change your direction, to change your situation. Remember, there's nothing wrong with changing your direction even though you don't know where you're going, because where you're going now is not where you want to be. So if you want change, you have to change yourself. If you want to change your situation and change your environment, you have to do that by changing the people you're around and changing the things that you do. Because the things that you do and the places that you go consistently, they're going to keep you in that same circle of people that you deal with. They're going to keep you in that same environment that you're dealing with. Once you can disconnect from that and reconnect with something that's different and new, even though you don't know what it is and you're not really too familiar with it, you can still say, hey, this is something different than what I was doing. And then you'll be able to say, well, man, maybe this is good, maybe this is bad, and I may need to change direction again. But at the end of the day, don't keep going down the path that you're going because you know it's not going to lead you where you're trying to go. And yes, change is hard, but change is always necessary. Because if you don't change, you can never better yourself. You can never become a better version of yourself unless you are willing to change. Cool. So I like that. So just make sure that you keep in mind, don't be afraid to look in the mirror, even though it hurts. And don't be afraid to change your direction, even when you don't know where you're going. Because sometimes you just gotta make a left because you made too many rights. All right? So this is the Relationship Rehab. I'm your boy, Brian Redmond. I hope that this has helped somebody out there in the world. Please like it, please share it, and let's all become better versions of ourselves. Peace, and I'm out.